So where does DMDF come in? We talked about this digital marketing framework, our product that is the digital marketing dashboard framework. DMDF combines data from web analytics software, online ads, so bought media, email marketing, and other solutions, and combines that with internal systems via business intelligence best practices. So now you can see immediately, rather than depending on a bunch of Excel exports, we can automate the pull of information via APIs and web service calls and store that data in a staging arena, along with an ODS to make sure that we can level that playing field and foster relationships between systems. From there, we can feed that information into a marketing-focused data warehouse. Now we can consolidate information, consolidate business rules, have that single source version of the truth that represents your marketing organization, and how are these channels measured? How are these metrics measured? Via the OLAP engine, via cubes, and via a presentation layer done in Microsoft with Microsoft Office and SharePoint. Now, instead of trading back and forth a series of Excel spreadsheets, now, via this single consolidated source of information, our marketing analysts can do their analysis cross-channel, and our marketing managers and executives can see on the whole, asking the questions are much easier to be done. They can see how effective campaigns are. What is the quality of those campaigns? What's the trend been like? Where, if we have $1 more of marketing to spend, where do we need to spend it to get the most bang for that buck? And that's essentially what DMDF is intended to do. Help answer that question and help foster that conversation. So, want to throw another polling slide up there, and that's just to get a bit of feel for how your organization currently analyzes marketing data. Is it Microsoft Excel? So it's that scenario we kind of laid out, that I've got all these different media channels that I use, and I have to pull down information and kind of consolidate all that Excel. Do you just use whatever those vendors give you, or you're unsure, or you just have a means and you're not really sure how it's done? I'll give you a moment for that. While I sip some tea. Okay, great. Looks like 100% of you are using Excel. So it sounds like the prior slides that we went through are hitting a little bit close to home here. So with that in mind, we talked about DMDF from a conceptual standpoint. Now we want to talk about the real-world example of how we've implemented DMDF at one of our largest customers. Polaris Industries is a designer, engineer, and manufacturer of all-terrain vehicles, snowmobiles, and motorcycles for recreational and utility use. So for those of you in the north, you may be more familiar with the ATVs and snowmobiles. In Dallas, not so much the snowmobile side, but definitely the hunting vehicles, the ATVs, and the Victory motorcycles. Polaris has been pushing Victory motorcycles since 1998, as it kind of represents the first all-new American motorcycle since Harley, really, made from a major company in the past 60 years. Polaris has been trying to enhance that riding experience with a complete line of apparel, accessories, and parts, and really be that one-stop shopping source. And if you are interested in any of that, by all means, PolarisIndustries.com can answer those questions for you. So, what was Polaris doing to really engage its customers and drive revenue for itself? You can see that Polaris's environment right now was marketing, getting customers to come to the website itself. So by using online and offline advertising and promotions, and getting people to visualize that website with dynamic content, the relevant and targeted content was used to really attract consumers and really pull them down that consumer purchase funnel. As the consumers were working through the website, leads were generated by capturing the information for that consumer. What was their name, address, what are they interested in looking at, build a custom motorcycle, build a custom snowmobile. What are those things that you need to get them to ultimately register? And once they registered and hit this analytics set, it was a matter of tracking the behavior from that registration. What is it that they are looking at? Now that we have that cookie, what are they looking at? What are they doing? What's that score? What's that propensity to buy? What's the lifetime value of that customer? Once they finally get to the decision point, the conversion point that I want to make that decision, how do we capture that information and get them into a dealer? So is this type of very soft funnel of trying to gauge who are our suspects and who are our prospects, but in the end it was lost if somebody didn't actually register. So you had activity happening on your website, but not really sure how to capture that visitor and that information, how to gauge what's that behavior that's driving. So if we need to drive dynamic content on our website, what works? How do we know what works? How do we drive that person to register, to ask for more information, to build a custom bike, to build a custom vehicle so that they can go to a dealer and purchase? What they really wanted was something to fit within their overall enterprise BI architecture they had worked with us to build. That BI architecture and that BI strategy was really meant to drive 6 different points. There was governance, so they had this common corporate strategy for data storage, presentation, which might sound familiar to a lot of you. So from a governance standpoint, the solution for information capture and consumption should adhere to that delivery. From an agility standpoint, they had to be quicker to get stuff out there. They had to deliver BI. They had to deliver information to their constituencies so that those dealers and those marketers and those regions could do a better job of driving the Polaris name. The process had to be consistent, had to be timely, had to be transparent, had to follow those standards. People had to be self-sufficient, and people had to be able to do self-service. Ultimately, what they wanted was an enterprise BI solution that solved, if we kind of go back here, that let them take all the analytics from their website and gauge those custom, user behavior metrics and provide them within a BI context. So the architecture looks something like this. We had all these source systems. And if you remember from one of the prior slides, you have the internal systems like Microsoft CRM and Mapix. You had external systems like WebTrends and ExactTarget. So we need to grab all the information out of these external systems, bring them into an internal staging and mapping tables to foster those relationships, push them through into a marketing data mart with the star schemas, model that with an analysis services cube and perspectives to provide the business metrics and aggregates and trending capabilities, and then provide that in a presentation layer that, again, followed the idea of standards for visualizations, that was self-sufficient, and provided self-service. So the users had the power now, and they could build the reports they needed to get the insight they needed. So when we implemented DMDF, this was really the final picture that occurred. You had that same website experience going on that they had before, but now, as opposed to not being able to really capture anything until the analytics piece, now the entire experience was able to be captured because now they were able to gather information from the bought media they had out there, from all the marketing that they were doing. So the bought media, the email campaigns, the offline campaigns, they were able to capture those metrics to provide how are we reaching our suspects. From the on-site analytics and the dynamic content they were serving and the leads they were serving, how is it all working together? Ultimately, how does that drive that larger funnel? How do we get from knowing who our leads are? How do we get beyond that into the prospects and suspects? The DMDF, their marketing effectiveness dashboard, gave them all these channels in a single one-stop shopping piece in an agile way and a standardized way to group all these external sources into a single source and provide that in a single dashboard. And that's how we were able to provide, via DMDF, to Polaris, a solution to a problem that they thought was impossible to solve. So with that in mind, I want to hop into our demo. Before we get in there, I just want to cover a couple of the terms. We had several marketing people on here, so some of these terms are pretty commonplace, but I want to go ahead and take a little bit and just walk through campaigns, programs, coupons. These are really the things that your organization will be running to get people in the marketing campaigns themselves. Traffic, basically who's coming to your website, how often are they coming, how long are they staying there, what are they viewing when they get there. Add an email type campaigns, so impressions, how many times is a single image or pixel showing up to a user, what's the click-through, so how many times are somebody clicking on that image when it shows up to get to your website. The bounce rate, of course, would be the quality of, bounce rate and stick rate being the quality of that visit. Bounce rates are basically, I came to the website, left as quickly as I could. Low would be, I came to the website and I stayed. Abandonment, if you are a retailer who allows people to buy online via shopping carts. Abandonment being, build a shopping cart and leave without purchase. Visitors, unique and repeat. Obviously, unique visitors being individuals that are visiting the website for the first time. Repeat customers being folks who visit the website repeatedly. Leads and opportunities, influence and conversion, obviously being people coming to the website, and what's the influence is what's going to entice them to buy, and the conversion would be the actual purchase or request for information or drive to purchase. Marketing costs and return on marketing investment, of course. Marketing costs being what we spend on the marketing campaigns themselves. Return being how much revenue do those drive. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump into the demo. Before I do that, I want to see a question here. The question says, you have a strategy or solution that integrates social media. So that's a good question. There is a solution right now that tracks social media today. Right now you can set up a site analytics piece to gauge the entry pages that are coming from social media platforms. So if I put ads on Facebook or I put ads on Twitter, I can gauge based on tagging which site those come in on. So I can gauge how many users are hitting my website from different social media platforms. The other kind of derivative of social media would be the social media interactions itself. So let's take Facebook, for example. I set up a Facebook page for my company, and I need people to become fans. To entice people to become fans, I may offer promotions and campaigns that target those that become fans on Facebook of my company's Facebook page. That interaction is currently in development. So the next release of DMDF will have a social media channel capability in it that would allow you to both gauge I have ads on Facebook, but also how does my fandom on Facebook work? How do my Twitter followers, how does that affect the revenue that I'm driving to get a SMO or SEO organization helping me out? What's the return on that marketing investment? So it's a very good question. So let's get into the demo, shall we? So you should be able to see our screen now. You should see a sample marketing dashboard. If you are having some scroll bar issues, as Marcy had alluded to earlier, you can hit F5 on your keyboard to get to a full screen view. You should see an executive scorecard on the left with some pie charts and some other shock charts.